This is Breaking Down Security. Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're here listening to us on a very warm summer day or evening or afternoon or morning, whenever you're listening. I'm Brian Brake, and as always, Mr. Betcher is with me today.
I am.
Before we get started, as you might have heard last week, Breaking Down Security is really excited about our brand new sponsor, which is cyberary.it. And they do InfoSec training for free. So if you are looking to make yourself more skillful and knowledgeable on things like Python or Metasploit, or if you're interested in things like reverse engineering, coming up, they've got a reverse engineering class that's being developed. Go on over to cyberary.it. That's cybrary, BRARY.it. And you can take some free classes. We have a forum over there, so if you would like to talk to us about that, the podcast on our forum, you can do so. We like to check that out from time to time. So, the training over there is going to be free forever for everybody. So, we'd like to thank Cyber IT for sponsoring us after we sponsored them. So, okay, with that out of the way, I would like to introduce our guest this week. It is, you might have remembered her from such podcasts as Breaking Down Security when we had her and Mr. Jarrod and I forget the other gentleman's name. Mr. Betcher, help me out.
Oh, man. Why'd you ask me?
Well, anyway, it's Miss Roxy from the the lab.ms over there in Dallas. Welcome, Roxy, to the show.
Thank you. And I think you were looking for the name Sean.
Oh, I was thinking Chase, but that was the gentleman you work with from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, Sean, yes. Sean and Jarrod Freitas. Hey, Jarrod. And Miss Roxy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the lab.ms later, but right now we have Roxy on because she has a very interesting application. Would it be fair to call it an application?
I suppose I have a very interesting experiment that I'm going to be doing,
Okay.
but I can talk about the application that I use, which was not developed by me. It was developed by ThreatStream.
Okay, so the topic we're talking about is you call it a big brown cloud,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you could give us a little background on, well, one, how did you get the name, and what exactly Big Brown Cloud does or is?
As you may or may not know, one of my major interests is honeypots.
Mhm.
And I've done a few talks on the Modern Honey Network, which basically is a way to set up honeypots, and it reports to a central location where you can access all of the data. So I was doing honeypots like a lot of network type traffic is what I was recording.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, back at where I work, I was noticing a lot of customer boxes that were getting compromised and they were all WordPress basically, or mostly WordPress.
Well,
and mostly,
that's a given. I mean, WordPress is the CMS du jour of insecurity. So
yeah, and basically the reason behind that is because WordPress has a lot of bells and whistles and things for attackers to interact with, and these themes and these plugins and all these things that you add on to WordPress may not be updated, or they may have vulnerabilities in them, and then that company that developed them or WordPress has not updated them. And if they did update them, it's usually because the person with the blog didn't update. We have this problem with, just in general, we all have problems keeping our WordPress up to date. And if you have one blog, that's one thing. But imagine if you had 100 blogs on a single server, and each blog was owned by somebody else. So you're basically taking a server and giving everyone an account, their own account on the server, and they put their own version of WordPress on there. It could be version 1.0 to the latest version of WordPress. It's very difficult to keep all those under control, and it's also difficult to keep them under control without potentially upsetting your customers because you updated something and you screwed something up.
Mm-hmm.
So there are resellers out there that buy a single server and then sell accounts, WordPress accounts for $20 a month or something. They're making a ton of money. And when something happens, they basically, when it's compromised and when something strange is going on, which basically, if it affects one WordPress blog, guess what? You have 99 other accounts on that server for that attacker to move over to. So what does the reseller do? Do they go in and fix it? No, they open up a ticket with their hosting company, and the hosting company goes through and has to fix everything. So the overhead is fairly low, and unless you're paying top dollar for hosting, which even then you can still, with $20 a month for each account, you can still make a ton of money. And there's some packages that are even more. It becomes a problem when you have a ton of WordPress blogs and they're on a single server. And I thought, you know what? That would make an amazing honeypot. If I invited people to create WordPress blogs on my server, and I'm tracking all of that information and saving all of that data, and then I can release that data to everyone, basically. It can be a neat little project to see what happens when you just put WordPress version 1 or 2 or whatever. And the reason why I wouldn't be the one creating the content is because I want there to be some variety. So I might decide to install a certain theme or plugin. Somebody else might decide to install another one. And so that gives you more variety for attackers to attack. So, and the name, the Brown Cloud, we were just kind of joking about the situation, and we were like, what if we created this and we thought, you know what, we'll call it, and this was me and my coworkers just talking. Mm-hmm. We're just like, what if we call it Brown Cloud for all your shitty sites? So, okay. It's going to be in the cloud, and basically the logo that I want to have is going to simply be a WordPress logo on a pile of poop, and then an arrow that goes up to a cloud. So that's why it's called Brown Cloud. So okay. That's the backstory there.
All right. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create. So you were mentioning honey nets, which are a number of honey pots put together to stimulate an environment that looks tasty to an attacker.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're doing it from a blog perspective. So you'll have hundreds of WordPress blogs, which of course look appetizing and enticing to a bad guy who would then, try to own whatever blog they could get to. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I assume you've got some kind of logging going on off-site or going to some kind of remote site so that, you'll see this stuff when it comes in.
Yeah, the way that the MHN, this is where MHN comes in. MHN will keep you'll have like a central server that your honeypots will report to. This basically is just going to be most likely just one server. So that's going to be collecting information, because what I want to do is try to put it all on one server and see what kind of crazy things happen. But if the server goes down within, 10 minutes, I might consider separating them out to different servers. But they would all report to a central location where I'll have MHN installed, and all of the logs will rest on that server. And MHN makes it very easy for you to visualize and to see those logs.
Okay.
You can put snort on it, and get alerts, so you can see what type of activity is going on. So you can see, what alerts are coming up.
And for those of us who are not versed with WordPress, what is MHN?
Well, MHN is separate from WordPress. MHN is the Modern Honey Network, and it is developed by ThreatStream, which is like a honeypots. It's like where all the data for your honeypots goes, and then it allows you to view that data very easily. And actually, it helps you deploy honeypots as well. What it does is you select what type of honeypot you want. So in this case, we would choose WordPot, which is a WordPress honeypot, but there's also different honeypots geared towards different things. For example, there's very simple honeypots that just log IP addresses and port numbers. And then there's also honeypots that get very complex and can log SIP data and take PCAPs for you, and store those PCAPs for you to view. So it can be as detailed as you want it to be. So what you do is you choose which honeypot you want from their drop down. Then first what you do is you go into IP tables and allow that IP address in, because the MHN server is only going to be accepting data from your honeypots and accepting connections from your IP address, because we have to keep that part very secure. So you update IP tables with your honeypot. You choose the honeypot that you want on the MHN server. It spits out your script. Actually, what it does is it gives you a wget, a line that you just basically paste into your honeypot, and it uses wget to download the script and run it. So and MHN is very simple to set up itself. It's only about 7 or 10 lines of commands that you have to do. So you can very easily set up this whole network without really having a whole lot of technical background.
So Roxy, this sounds like a hobby of yours, but a lot of times hobbies can turn into careers, right? What are you hoping to gain from this? What are some uses for it? What are some things you can? What are you researching?
Well, I do the nonprofit work for the lab, and I would really like to do research there, and there's many questions that you can answer using honeypots. In my current career, though, I may not use honeypots, but it's always fun to research and see what kind of things you can develop. For example, if you want to know how active a certain exploit kit is, you could put honeypots in different locations, in different data centers, and then see, how active that exploit kit is, or if there's certain circumstances that encourage it to be present. You could do things like that. You could also see just simply what type of traffic is happening. A lot of times you'll see a rise in traffic that correlates with a certain current event. So, for example, when Heartbleed happened, or when, what was the other one?
Shell shock.
Shell shock. Yeah, that's a really good one. You can see people trying to exploit it, and you'll see that rise in your data.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it can be great for research. A lot of questions, you can answer a lot of questions just by deploying honeypots and looking at the data. Who doesn't love data, you know?
Exactly.
So that's a great use. But if you want to use it in your corporate infrastructure, you can do that as well. It doesn't have to be for research. A lot of times what people will do is they'll set up honeypots around their important infrastructure. So the attacker sees that easy target first. And not only are you alerted to who or what type of attack is happening, or who is attacking you, but it also protects your infrastructure because the attacker is spending time on the decoy.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You can also use it to kind of test out, hardening, what do you call it? Hardening templates, I guess. Test out applications to see if there's any security holes, because if you put an IDS on there like Snort, you can get a log of all the activity that's happening. So you're not just getting the honeypot data, you're also getting IDS data at the same time, and that will feed into MHN as well. So
you mentioned that this is a service or something that you were wanting to set up and allow people to host fake blogs. I'm assuming you're not wanting somebody to put a real blog on a
no.
HoneyNet.
No, I don't want anybody to put anything that they wouldn't want hacked. Basically, you will get hacked. So I'm really looking for people's creativity, and their contribution is just that they set up a blog in a manner that they would normally set one up. So if there's certain themes or certain plugins or certain ways that you set up your blog, and you can choose which version of WordPress you want to put on there, then that will help, and treat it like a real blog. But it's all an experiment. It's not actual hosting, and I wouldn't want anybody to put anything on there that they wouldn't want hacked. In fact, I encourage you to put fake documents on there that say things like, company salary information .xls or whatever. So, okay. I mean, that can be, you could put fake stuff on there that looks real, and that could be enticing. But don't put anything on there that you wouldn't want hacked, because it will be hacked.
So this sounds like it's going to be a collaborative effort. So if somebody sets up a fake blog on there, what benefit do they get from setting up their fake blog and maintaining that? Do you share the information with them? Do you take that aggregate data and go, okay, well, this week we had X, Y, and Z IP addresses come in and, mm-hmm. Activate, the tripwire configuration or whatever that you set up on your blog? I mean, mm-hmm. what are we looking for here for collaborative works?
Well, I don't know how long the experiment will last, because I expect things to get kind of crazy after in a very short amount of time. I could be wrong, but I don't expect this to last very long. Basically, you're just contributing to research is basically what you're doing. And I'm going to have all the data available for anyone. So not just the people that participate, but, anyone else that's watching the project. So if it lasts 2 weeks, I'll probably be really surprised. I expect within a few days for the CPU usage to go up, and I'm really hoping for a Bitcoin miner. So
where are you going to be hosting this? Is this Amazon based or Azure or Rackspace or something?
actually, it is a really good idea when you have honeypots to use different hosts and to use different IP spaces because you get a more variety.
Sure.
But the variety in this is going to be the WordPress versions and the way people customize it. So currently, right now, I only have 2 servers. One is I guess I should call it the secure server. And one is the completely insecure WordPress server. And then the third one is the MHN server that I share with my co-presenter in a lot of the talks that I've done, whose name is Mike Sconzo. And so I currently have my stuff. I forgot where. I think he has his hosted at Amazon, maybe. But the 2 servers I have are at a company called Cloud at Cost, which is very cheap. So there could be some downtime.
Okay.
But I'm not spending a whole lot on this, and I'm spending, I think, $28 on this whole thing. Plus the time that my personal developer boyfriend has been contributing, which probably would normally cost me $100 an hour.
Okay.
So if you wanted to set something up like this, probably, I mean, I don't know if we're going to release the code or not, but assuming we do release the code, it would cost you less than $50.
Okay, well,
on which server you get.
That's an important question. So what kind of code are we talking? Do you have a custom WordPress instance that you're going to be building? Or, I mean, what kind of code are we talking about here that isn't WordPress or a theme or something that comes with WordPress?
Well, the code for the blogs they're all going to be WordPress. Mm-hmm. We're going to put different versions on there for you to choose from. The part where the coding comes into effect, besides the marquee that's scrolling there right now, there's actually an entire process that it goes through when you create the blog. So you register and you choose which version that you want. It reports to the secure server, installs that version for you, and then sets up your account. brianbreak.bigbrowncloud.com.
Okay.
So yeah, the domain name's going to give away to anyone that's in security. They're going to know it's a honeypot if they've heard this podcast. But
yeah, don't worry about that. Nobody's going to listen. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, that's basically where the coding comes into play, is setting up the blog.
Okay.
You said you've done a lot of research, I guess, into honeypots in the past. Can you tell us, what you've done and some of the cool things you've seen and how they were useful for you?
Well, I did mostly what I've done is I've used MHN a lot because I've tried to set up honeypots on my own, and I fail each time because I'm not much of a system administrator. So, I mean, as far as the data I've acquired, it may not really be that interesting. But when you create honeypots in different areas, it is kind of interesting to see the same IP address come up and do the same type of activity, even though it's it's a completely different IP range or a completely different side of the world. It's always interesting to see the same type of activity be on a wide range like that.
So you think they're running Shodan queries to get particular sites, and then they attack those sites and being stringent about, what signatures they're looking for?
Yeah, they could be doing that, or they could just be scanning, internet wide and scanning, a, a high, what do you call it? An extensive range of IP addresses.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'll see them scan for the same thing. And, it makes you wonder exactly how much, computing power they have it probably not much actually, but it's still rather interesting. And I've seen a lot of tools that have been developed using honeypots, like Arbor Networks. They have atlas.arbor.net, which shows you the data from their honeypots, and it will show you trends and it'll show you which ports are being commonly scanned. If you notice an increase in a certain port, that means something's probably going on. You could look up news and see, what's going on in the security world with, MySQL or whatever port it is. And it also shows, the trending of, when a certain attack was popular and when it wasn't. You can see go up and down. I don't know. I find stuff like that interesting. I don't know if other people do, but there's a lot of tools out there that have been that have honeypots behind them.
Okay, so here's a question. What if somebody wanted to use your service? I use the term service because technically it will be a service that you're going to be enabling. What if they wanted to stand up their own WordPress, but were afraid to, put it up without, say, testing first? Would they, if I wanted to set up a WordPress blog on your site and try to secure it as much as possible, is that something that you would still allow? I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole vulnerable weblog thing, but
I mean, if you wanted to, you could, but because I'm hoping for there to be many blogs on one single server, you may not get your blog may not get the attention you want it to get, or it may be lost in all the data. So in that case, the best thing for you to do is to set up WordPot on your server, which is a WordPress honeypot. Okay. And if you want, you could have that data go to MHN. If you want to try several different, WordPress instances and see which ones fare better, you could set up 3 servers and have them, report to MHN and see your data that way.
How would somebody who was interested in helping you set up, say a honey blog, how would they go about getting a hold of you to make that happen?
Well, we've hit kind of a roadblock in our development process. The developer has been working very hard on actual work that pays. Well, he not very hard, but moderately hard is what he says. So we haven't completed it yet, but if you watch the website and if you follow me, my Twitter handle is TheRoxyD, TheRoxyd. I will certainly let everybody know when it is time via Twitter and any means possible.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So could you use this, what you've learned, to kind of put out maybe a discussion on maybe vulnerable plugins that should be avoided? I mean, I'm trying to figure out the after effects of this, other than just, hey, let's do a thing and look at the results. Would this be like a subject of a talk you would give at, say, a B-sides or something?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing a talk, but I'm also thinking of just doing a write-up and and like you said, listing, what the most vulnerable aspects of it are. It's really more of a curiosity. It started off as a curiosity and kind of, water cooler talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we did this? What would happen? It actually started off as us trying to figure out what we need to do to get in the reseller business, is how it started. And then we said, you know what? We don't really want to maintain these servers. How about we just make it a huge honeypot? And then I did all the work, and my personal developer did all the work, and everyone else kind of lost interest. So I'm the one that takes a joke really far. So this is just basically a joke that turned into a giant experiment that nobody asked for. So I just want to see what happens if you put a bunch of WordPress version 1 through 3, probably is what it'll be. And then the current version, I want to see how fast it takes to blow up, and what kinds of lessons we can learn from that, and what we can. The number one lesson might be, don't put anything important on a server that is being shared with 100 other WordPress instances. But beyond that, I'm hoping to have a lot of information about, what works and what doesn't. And, I invite everyone to implement their own type of hardening techniques if they can through it. But I'm not going to give people access to the server. They're just going to have access to the application.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually thinking about creating different hardening templates and experimenting with different servers. But at this point, I only have one server. But that would be something else that I would be interested in doing as well, if this all turns out good.
Yeah, that might be interesting. I'm sorry, Mr. Patrick. Go ahead and.
Or you could put the latest WordPress versions and then tons of plugins, and see if you can find an O-Day, something like that.
Yeah, like I definitely want there to be some blogs that have the latest version, and then, let people customize it. And if someone ends up putting a bunch of the latest ones on there, that would be cool. I might just take your idea and do that myself on my own blog.
Yeah, I don't think using versions of WordPress 1 through 3 and then not using the most recent version is going to be a problem. I think it's probably as vulnerable as the older versions are. It just depends on what you put on it.
Well, I mean, the latest version though is going to be the most secure, because there are a lot of changes that WordPress makes and a lot of bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So the latest one is definitely the one you want to keep. You want to keep up to date. You want to keep your WordPress blog up to date. Sorry, I can't talk. But yeah, definitely the themes and the plugins. Those are the bells and the whistles that are so attractive to attackers, because WordPress doesn't always maintain those or create those. So
they don't have like a vetting for plugins or for themes or anything like that.
I'm not sure if they do. They might actually. I don't know that much about developing WordPress themes and plugins, but there are entire companies that devote their time to that.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
So
I don't know a lot about
lot.
CMS's. Period. My last one I tried to put in a Drupal one. I think when it was in version 4 a long time ago, and that blew up in my face. So I got owned. So
yeah, I'm not really well versed in in how to manage one. The only thing I know is keep it up to date. Because I have seen instances where people didn't keep it up to date, and it didn't look good.
Yeah. Well, your developer there, has created something that could be very useful for a blue team. If you have a WordPress blog and your company has a WordPress blog, you may want to set up additional WordPress blogs to ensure that maybe they didn't find the one that they were supposed to get to, or maybe you can set up fake ones to make it look like your small company that puts their intranet in many ways on. You've exposed your intranet accidentally to the
Mm-hmm.
outside world, and you've got somebody thinking, oh, ha ha ha, I can go and look at the finances or whatever, and you've put, I don't know, poison honey docs, or you've made it so that you could incorporate some active defense tools inside of your big brown cloud, your personal big brown cloud, if you will. I could definitely see using some kind of honey docs with an active defense thing to hamper or to infuriate people.
Yeah, I mean, if you combine the code that we have for creating the blog, and then you combine that with MHN, or you simply just use WordPot and just set up the blogs on your own, you wouldn't necessarily have to use the big brown cloud code that he has developed, unless you wanted to invite other people to create their blogs. Basically, all it does is just selects from a drop down and creates the blog. So, I mean, you could do this very easily with MHN. It's a great tool for multiple honeypot.
Well, Mr. Betcher, do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Do you have any closing thoughts before we move along, Miss Roxy, about your project?
Not really. Just I'm really sorry it's not ready yet. I hope it doesn't take until next year to get ready, but I might start cracking the whip on the development team.
Well, let's move on to other things, because one of the other things we wanted to ask you about was kind of an update to our hackerspace podcast. What was that, about 2 months ago? I think we had you and Sean and Jarrod on to discuss hackerspaces, more of a generic, but we had you guys on because you guys were making a hackerspace in the Dallas area. And I've been following you guys on your Facebook page. Thank you for allowing me to spam my podcast on your hackerspace page. I appreciate that.
No problem. It's educational.
She said no problem. I'm spamming. Anyway, all right. So we just wanted to find out about get an update on the lab.ms if you guys are in your new place, your new digs. What's been going on with that.
Well, hopefully at some point we'll have a video tour for you to see or something, unless you want to fly down here. But currently it's an empty space, but we do have a space. Okay. When you spoke to us, we were in the beginning stages of looking around and trying to get a space, because we had a goal of reaching a certain amount of money before we opened a space, but then we realized, you know what, we've gotten close enough. Once we open a space, we should be able to sustain it at this point, with all the interest that we were getting. So we have a space now. It's not open yet, but we're in the beginning stages of getting it up and running and ready for the public. Hoping for a mid-July type of grand opening deal.
Awesome.
That hopefully we'll be announcing soon. So we just have a few things to take care of. We do have a need we have a lot of electronic equipment donations coming in, but we do have a need for more of the classroom stuff that we need, like whiteboards, chairs, tables. But we're accepting equipment donations. If anybody needs to get rid of some stuff, just let us know.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, you guys are actually making that happen. You're going to have your your little space there. It's not little from what I hear. You're going to have classrooms, so you're going to be able to do trainings and such.
Yeah, we have right now 2 classrooms. We have a pretty large closet that's going to be like a server room. We have a front area, so we have like a sitting area in the front, a reception area, and then we also have an audio video lab as well. And we'll be, as soon as we get that up and running, that will be great for people that are out of town, that don't live in the area, that can't make it down there. We can live stream our
Events.
Our classes and our podcasts. We plan on doing podcasts as well, so.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Good. Great. More competition, because that's what we need. So
we're not really competition. We just want to create content for people and create more channels for them to learn.
Okay.
And maybe one day we'll have a virtual reality type thing set up, so you can be at the lab virtually.
Oh, that sounds
That'll
great.
be really cool.
Like an Oculus Rift kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nice. So if you're in the Dallas area, how would they find the Makerspace building location?
Well, it's not open yet, but when it opens, you can come by. It's North Central Expressway and Park Road, not Park Lane, but Park Road in Plano. And it is on the south. Let me see if I get this correct. I'm sorry. It's on the northwest side of Park and 75, and it's over where Fishmongers is.
Fishmongers.
So if you're familiar with where Fishmongers is at Park Road and 75, that's where it is. I forget the address, but I'm sure if you go to our website, thelab.ms, that's THELAB.ms, we'll have an address up there shortly, if not already.
Nice. Okay. So, well, Mr. Betcher, do you have anything else to talk about or mention or anything like that? Because sadly, Mr. Betcher is going to be, he's doing this thing called vacation, and he's going to be taking it next month. So we're going to have, I'm going to be here. Never fear, dear listener, I will be here. We're going to have some guest hosts come on and do some content with me. So hopefully you won't be disappointed that Mr. Betcher is gone. So,
yeah, well, maybe. You've been planning this for about 6 months, I know.
Yeah, well, I always try to make sure that I can fill the void for when you're not here, because it's a large gap there. So, so do you have anything else you'd like to mention, Mr. Betcher? Are you gonna, you've got anything going on that you want to talk about?
Not currently.
Okay.
But I hope I will. Things are going well.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's there's a little something. There's a little undercurrent there. I've only know about a little bit of it. He's working on it with somebody else. So that's.
See, I don't tell Brian things anymore, because he's like a media. He's like a podcaster type. Once you tell him something, it goes out into the to the universe, right? Wow. It's broadcast everywhere. So. Wow. Yeah.
Confidence is encouraging.
So he's the press.
He is the press.
Oh, God. Oh, that cuts deep. Oh, I can't.
Yeah. You got your press passes to DerbyCon? I know you got a couple.
Please. I'm not that fancy. So, Roxy, before we let you go, are you going to be speaking anywhere in the future? Are you going to be attending any conventions or conferences that anybody can see you at?
I hope not. I'm kind of... to be honest, I'm taking a little break. Got a boyfriend, settling down. No, I'm not going to settle down too much.
Okay.
But just I traveled a lot in the beginning of the year, and I've gone to DEF CON every year for the past 4 whatever years I've been in security. Taking a break. Okay. But I sadly won't be at DEF CON this year. But you can reach me online. I'm on the internet a lot, so.
So somebody can get you on Twitter at the Roxy ROXYD. If they wanted to help volunteer maybe and give the lone gunman, the lone developer, your little help, little guidance, little coding experience help.
He doesn't need help really. He just needs to stop focusing on his paying job so much.
Yeah, that,
because I mean,
it just gets in the way.
Yeah, you don't need
yeah,
to pay
it's
bills.
just terrible.
The progress.
We are looking for corporate sponsors for the lab, so if anyone's interested in checking out the lab_MS on Twitter, let us know if you're interested in a corporate sponsorship, because we have different, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but we do have different levels of corporate sponsorship, so we'll be happy to discuss on anyone's budget.
Nice.
And we are a nonprofit, so you get a receipt.
Oh, really? So you're like
taxes.
A 501c3 or whatever?
Yeah, we're a 501c3.
Boy, that's no mean feat. I mean, that probably took a lot of work to get. So.
Yeah, that did. We did it wrong the first time too, so we had to send it again. But yeah, we got it. Very
nice. Very nice. Okay, well, Breaking Down Security is a for-profit. We're not a nonprofit. So we're on Patreon. We like to thank our Patreon, our people on Patreon who like what we do and want to give us money and think that it's a great thing. In addition to our Cyber folks, you can find Breaking Down Security. Our Twitter handle is @BreakSec. You'll find me at Brian Brake. That's BryanBrake, all one word. Mr. Betcher, where can people find you when you're not gallivanting off driving somewhere for vacation?
They can find me on Twitter at BetcherPwned.
And he's on MySpace and all the chat roulettes. And so we're on SoundCloud. We have a YouTube channel. I keep meaning to update that with our new podcasts, but I forget. Facebook.com/BreakingDownSec. We have a LinkedIn page. We have the official forum over at cyber.it. You can look us up there as well. So that was it for this week. Thank you, Miss Roxy and David.
Yeah, David's in the background.
David, thank you, David, for contributing to the Big Brown Cloud. And that was it for this week. And have a great week and stay cool.